The desert wind howls across the Euphrates. Ali's moral authority endured in memory and devotion, especially among Shia Muslims. Muawiyah's political legacy endured in statecraft and dynasty. Both shaped history, but had Ali won decisively, the Islamic world might remember the 7th century not as the birth of division, but the consolidation of unity. Or perhaps new divisions would simply emerge in different forms. Because history rarely eliminates conflict, it only redirects it. The sands of Siffin have long since swallowed the footprints of those armies, but the questions remain. What is legitimacy? Who decides leadership? And how much of history hinges on a single moment of doubt? If you enjoyed this deep dive into alternate history, make sure to subscribe for more cinematic explorations of the turning points that shaped our world, because sometimes, to understand what was, we have to imagine what might have been. Without there is no Umayyad takeover in 661. No shift of capital to Damascus, no rapid consolidation of dynastic rule. Ali remains Caliph, unchallenged across the empire. And that matters enormously. Ali was known for emphasizing justice over tribal favoritism. He dismissed corrupt governors. He attempted to redistribute wealth more evenly. If victorious at Siffin, he governs from a position of strength, not constant civil war. The caliphate may have evolved as a more consultative leadership rather than hereditary monarchy. Would succession still become dynastic? Possibly, but not through the Umayyads. History's first Islamic dynasty might never rise. 2. The Sunni-Shia divide changes shape. Here's where the stakes deepen. The Sunni-Shia split did not appear overnight, but Siffin accelerated it. If Ali wins decisively, his legitimacy becomes nearly unassailable. The question of rightful leadership, so central to later sectarian identity, resolves, at least politically, in his favor. Perhaps the idea of divinely guided leadership through Ali's lineage becomes mainstream, rather than minority belief. Or perhaps, without the trauma of Karbala which occurred under Umayyad rule, the emotional core of Shia identity never forms in the same way. Would divisions still exist? Almost certainly, but the symbolic weight of martyrdom, injustice, and dispossession might look very different. The religious map of the Muslim world could be radically altered. 3. The fate of Hassan and Hussein. Ali's sons, Hassan ibn Ali and Hussein ibn Ali, would grow up not as political claimants in exile, but as heirs in a stabilized state. In our timeline, Hassan briefly becomes Caliph before stepping aside to Muawiya. Hussein dies at Karbala in 6, an event that becomes one of the most defining tragedies in Islamic history. But in this alternate world, no single quotes are Wiya. No Yazid. No Karbala as we know it. Without Karbala, the moral narrative of oppression versus legitimacy central to centuries of theology and politics transforms entirely. Ashura might commemorate something else, or nothing at all. 4. Political culture of the Caliphate. Muawiya was pragmatic, strategic, and state-building in orientation. Under him, the Caliphate centralized power and adopted Byzantine-style administrative systems. Ali's governance style leaned toward austerity and egalitarianism. If he wins at Siffin, the administrative DNA of the early Islamic empire may tilt toward decentralization and moral authority rather than dynastic stability. Would expansion slow? Would internal reforms deepen? Would tribal politics cool or intensify? It's impossible to say with certainty, but the model of Islamic governance taught to future generations would look profoundly different. 5. Global ripple effects. The Umayyads later expand west into North Africa and Spain, east into Central Asia. Without them, does the conquest of Iberia in 711 still happen? Does Al-Andalus rise in the same way? Does Islamic art, architecture, and political thought evolve under different aesthetic and ideological influences? One battle in Syria could reshape the cultural identity of half a continent. The human element, but alternate history is not just about empires, it's about people. Imagine Ali aging, battle-worn, finally at peace, after years of civil war. Imagine him consolidating unity rather than defending legitimacy. Imagine a generation growing up without the bitterness of Karbala. History often turns not on inevitability, but on moments of hesitation. Its hesitation decided everything. Let's tilt history. Let's imagine that Ali's troops ignore the raised Qur'ans. Let's imagine discipline holds. Let's imagine Ali Wins. Decisively. Alternate history. If Ali won at Siffin, the battle resumes. The hesitation never spreads. Ali's commanders push forward. Muawiya's lines collapse. Armor. Ibn Alas is captured or killed. Muawiyah flees or falls in battle. Syria submits. What happens next? A cry echoed across the battlefield. Let the Book of God judge between us. It was psychological warfare, and it worked. Many in Ali's army hesitated. They could not bring themselves to strike against men appealing to divine arbitration. Ali reportedly warned them. This was a ploy, but discipline cracked. Under pressure from his own troops, he agreed to arbitration. The battle ended, not with victory, but with political stalemate, and from that stalemate emerged fragmentation. The Kharijites broke away. Ali's authority weakened. Muawiya consolidated power in Syria. Within 4 years, Ali would be assassinated. Muawiya would establish the Umayyad dynasty. Caliphate would become hereditary, and the Sunni-Shia divide would crystallize over time. After the death of the Prophet Muhammad in 632 CE, leadership of the Muslim community passed through a succession of caliphs, first Abu Bakr, then Umar, then Uthman. Under Uthman's rule, tensions grew, accusations of favoritism, administrative unrest, provincial anger. In 656 CE, Uthman was assassinated in Medina. The empire stretching from Egypt to Persia plunged into crisis. Leadership fell to Ali ibn Abi Talib, but not everyone accepted him. Among his most powerful opponents stood Muawiya ibn Abi Sufyan, the governor of Syria and a kinsman of the slain. Muawiya demanded justice for Uthman's death before recognizing Ali's authority. Ali insisted on stabilizing the state first. Negotiations collapsed. Armies marched the road to Siffin. The summer of 6. Tens of thousands gathered near the Euphrates River at Siffin, in what is now northern Syria. The confrontation was not merely political. It was deeply personal. These were not foreign enemies. They were former allies, companions, veterans of the early Islamic conquests. Brothers in faith now faced each other across sharpened steel. For weeks, skirmishes flared. Then came full battle. Sources describe chaos, dust clouds swallowing cavalry charges, swords flashing beneath the sun, tribal banners whipping in the wind. By most accounts, Ali's forces were gaining ground. Muawiyah's army was under immense pressure. And then, a desperate gambit. Two armies face each other beneath a burning Syrian sun. On one side, the cousin and son-in-law of the Prophet, a man revered for his courage, his piety, his sense of justice. On the other, a seasoned governor with political instinct, sharper than any blade. The year is 657 CE. The place is Siffin, and the question is simple, yet what if Ali ibn Abi Talib had won? Not just survived, not just forced arbitration, but won decisively, because the outcome of this single battle helped shape a divide that still echoes across centuries. Tonight, we step into an alternate history and ask how one battlefield might have changed the political future of Islam forever. To understand Siffin, we must step into a world already breaking apart. According to tradition, Muawiyah's general, Amr ibn Alas, ordered Qur'ans raised on spear tips. But now, -1, no Umayyad dynasty in reality. Siffin ended in arbitration, and arbitration led to fragmentation.